They want to make themselves masculine. These norms that are uprooted from old times, it's like, oh, there's a reason that they were there.
It took 100 years for women to get to this point, and you damn sure better respect that.
Feeling like you can't ask for that help is part of toxic masculinity in itself.
Welcome to Counterpoint. I'm the host, Ryan. In this episode, our guests on both sides aim for equality, but do their pursuits for it clash? That's what the men on this side of me and the women on this side of me will discuss today and uncover, along with so much more. Toxic masculinity is a real thing. We'll start by having the agreeing people come up now.
Do I think toxic masculinity exists? Yes. I don't think every guy has it, obviously. Growing up as a guy, we are kind of taught to be a certain way. Every guy has to be strong and like sports and drink beer and no, we don't need to do that. We can enjoy things that are not masculine. For an example, I like candles. You know what I mean? Somebody will come into my apartment and be like, "Oh, that's gay." It's like, no, it's not. It's a fucking wood-scented candle. What do you mean? But yeah, I guess that's kind of where I am coming from on the point.
I think toxic masculinity is overused as a phrase, but it's totally a thing. I think there's these guys trying to prove that they're macho and prove that they are just strong and buff, and then they overcompensate for their insecurities, and it comes across way too aggressive, and it just rubs people the wrong way.
I agree with what both of you guys have said so far. I think you've done a really good job offering definitions as far as what it looks like as a woman who has been on the receiving end of some of that toxicity. My best way to define it is just by giving more examples of what I think it is. If I'm in the workplace, the service industry, for example, and my manager, who is a man, is repeatedly passing behind me and brushing up against my lower back, or a point to talk about how many times he's exercised this week. Those are little things that kind of add up as a woman who has experienced toxic masculinity that is rather frustrating. And I think the overcompensation, like you spoke to, is just really unnecessary. Can we have a conversation without the macho persona coming out? Because at the end of the day, I see people as people. When I look at a man, I don't see a man first, I see a person. So you don't have to prove to me that you're a man, or whatever the case may be,
I think I agree with you most actually on what toxic masculinity is, but I would even go a step further and say that I think some men are just so afraid to be feminine or seen as feminine that they go above and beyond, they have to show off to their boys, I'm a man, I can do this, I can, An example of that from my personal life is I dated a guy and I'm really into skincare, right? I think it's important to take care of yourself. He would not. No skincare, would not. My little drops or my face masks with me. Skincare's for everybody, but you correlate it so much with a woman that you're just refusing to take care of yourself altogether. That just doesn't make sense to me, and I think maybe that's an extreme example, but I think it's one that's common.
Toxic masculinity, I think, is sometimes the root of the problem with when you think of school shooters or really people who are getting into fights at school that may lean more masculine or boys because they don't know how to deal with emotions. There's not emotional intelligence that's being taught, and emotion, for some reason, is tied to the feminine, or showing emotion is more girly, or having a candle being described as gay is nothing I can even comprehend. I'm raising two sons. We always encourage them to have emotion, and that crying was okay. But I think that's more rare. If they took that outside the home, they were made fun of for it, or potentially made fun of. Now, my youngest son does seem to be surrounded by more emotionally intelligent people, so he probably felt it less than my older son. We just encouraged that all emotions, anger's okay as well. Sad is okay, tears are okay, happy's okay. But I think that if we encourage our boys or those presenting as such to stifle all of their emotions, I think that's where the aggression comes out. They don't know any other way than to become aggressive, and I think that that's a real detriment.
And that's where you think the toxicness comes from. Like that's when it's stepping into the toxic.
Right, and that there's some sort of expectation, perhaps said, perhaps quiet, that boys, men have to be in athletics. Boys, men have to be in a certain sector of employment. Boys, men have to be the breadwinner. I mean, that's a lot of pressure on boys and men.
And now I think it is a great time to bring up our one disagreeer. Come on up. Why don't you start by just kind of letting us know why you think that there's really no toxic masculinity?
It really comes from just kind of the perception people have on how men react naturally. This toxicness that stems from like the household, how they grew up. And as you can see, like through the feminist movement, it's more empowering for women to be single moms and to do whatever they want. And that a lot of the times those men that they deem as toxic actually came up from those households when they don't have the structure. Because like you said, it's a good for the women's side to have, be emotional and let you express yourself. But without the man, you need to have someone in there that has like a foundation. And that brings men a lot of strength that they have that example of a man to be strong and how to actually handle your emotions instead of just letting them out and stuff. I think it's a disclassification of just maybe people who have issues, maybe they need help in some sort of way, they feel insecure, but by victimizing them as like this, they're a toxic male and put them in this box, it further isolates them from like society and pushes them deeper down that rabbit hole. By isolating these men and like kind of putting men in like a trait of like, okay, that's toxic, I'm gonna cut them off or whatever. I feel like it's very dangerous and it's very hindering to society because, you need to understand where the guy's coming from too. It's not just they have a perfect personality and so they're gonna be overly masculine and now they're overtaking things. Like it's never that situation as you guys alluded to earlier. It's more of like they need help. Be cool, maybe they're trying to talk to you, maybe they're trying to have some sort of conversation, but it comes off a certain way. And since society is labeling that, they get labeled as a toxic person and it's hurting them as a whole and it's not helpful at all.
So you're saying like the label itself is what's continuing to allow men to be toxic, if that is a thing. Like what it's being seen as is toxic, right? Like,
yeah,
because it's basically just writing them off like, oh, you're toxic, so like you're...
Yeah, and it's like a thing too where it's like, oh, well, you're gonna label me that? Okay, maybe I might actually go full in and be that 100%. And maybe that's where the incel movement's kind of coming from, the we hate women. I feel like what it started from is like the feminist side of we hate men. And men were like, okay, what's going on? And as a reaction to that, it starts to have that swing of, everybody's being on different polarizing sides and, because they don't feel represented.
I mean, what do you guys think of that? Go ahead.
I appreciate the need to remove labels from things because I think as a society we do tend to over-label things. Your claim to women having emotions and needing a man to balance them out per se is not true. And by implying that women need a foundation, you're implying that women can't build foundations on their own. If you are inferring that women are more emotional, that doesn't mean they're incapable of handling their emotions when a man isn't around. In order to grasp hard concepts as humans, that we need to label things in order for our brains to make sense of them. So like I said, while I do appreciate your call to not maybe label men as toxic because then that could just fuel the toxicity, do you have any other suggestions maybe then for what we should call behavior that men exhibit that is per se like dangerous or reactive, which is something I heard you say as well?
I don't think, you were saying like a man needs to stabilize her, right? You're saying
No.
It's the effect of the combination of
Yeah, I
the
was
two?
saying like in the household, like emotions kind of like the women are like the water and the men are the concrete barrier in a way.
What do you think of that?
I disagree. I live by myself, I support myself, and I have since I was 18 years old. I've had to find that stability on my own without a man beside me. And while I agree that women's emotions might be more fluid, I don't think that having concrete around to balance it out is necessarily a good thing. I think that sounds a bit stifling, actually.
Okay.
So I was gonna say there's like this whole complex of like alpha and beta males. And I've been labeled beta male majority of my life. And there's like this pendulum swing, and we got to find the balance in the middle where we can appreciate both sides so that we're not toxic males trying to overcompensate for insecurities. And we also got to appreciate our feminine side and women so that we can meet in the middle.
Fair. What do you guys think about just everything that his first original statement?
I think in regard to what you said, I think that's something for men to do. And what I mean by that is I don't think, or at least most women I know, think men have to be like strong and macho and carry the heavy furniture and drive trucks and all of that. I think that's an expectation men have for each other. And so that's also part of where the toxic masculinity part can come in. Because another thing that you had said was, I guess the manifestation of toxic masculinity is a result of like needing help, like a cry for help and not necessarily getting it. But I would say that feeling like you can't ask for that help is part of toxic masculinity in itself. Because again, I think that's an expectation that men put on each other. You have to be strong, you have to, do all these things. And like I said, no woman I know has that expectation. I don't think men should have to be strong all the time because they're not, and that's okay. But I think men need to start holding themselves to that same standard, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%.
Question for you, because I know that guys don't have to be, right? I do hear a lot about that. What do you think happens to men when they don't follow that? You're a man, you're supposed to be this and that. Let's say you started crying right now in front of everybody.
Yeah.
In your normal situation, how would you be accepted for that?
Is someone who, kind of built their self-confidence up, and if you're someone who's not like self-conscious and things, you can release those type of emotions around your friends, and it's actually a good thing. And it's something that can help bond with people. I know for sure that a lot of times when guys do go out and they share their feelings, maybe they're crying with their wife, the wife doesn't see them exactly how they were before. They lose a little bit of respect because he's not that masculine man. So it's not just on the men's side where it's like, oh, we need you to be masculine. The women, they want to be, ideally feminine, and like they need that masculine to balance each other out. And so we need each other for the most part.
Feminism killed chivalry. We'll start by having everyone that agrees come up now.
I believe that it used to be the standard, and now, you can get on a dating app and women will be like, I don't need a man to do this, that. It's like, okay, then we'll stop doing it. And it's like, I usually still am always conscious of what side of the road I'm walking on, or the sidewalk I'm walking on. I'm always opening doors. I pumped somebody's gas and they were like surprised that I got out and pumped their gas. It's like, well, she told me that she's letting me pump her gas. I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right. To be a feminist, you don't need a man. It's like, okay, but you can want one. You can want one to do all that stuff for you. There's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean?
Like in 2 points, right? One is that we don't need you, and therefore, all right, why would we? An important thing to us was the fact that, we thought you need us. If you don't need us, then screw it, right? That's one part. And then the other part is like, you feel like it's almost more of an intrusion now to do things like that because of that culture. Okay, and what about you guys?
I want to do those things, and it's kind of just in my nature, but like I feel like the reaction from girls when you do that type of things is very skewed nowadays. Accidentally like, oh, you hold it open for me? Well, I can do it by myself. I don't need a man to open the door for me. And it's like, all right, fine. I'm not going to do anything like that for women, and if you want it that way, then you can have it. You can also ask me out. You can take me on the first date, like it's like
You pay for the
they
bill
want to
first.
make themselves masculine and not act like we're not in some sort of balance between each other. Okay, women can go do whatever they want. They can have a million options, be single forever and then never have a kid and be lonely. And it's like, these norms that are uprooted from old times, it's like, oh, there's a reason that they were there. And there needs to be that balance of the feminine, like nurturing and being like emotionally like available. And it's hard to do those things when women are trying to act like men. And I don't want to do those things if they're trying to be a boss babe or something.
I agree. Chivalry used to be the standard. I do my best to practice chivalry as much as possible. It's been definitely diluted.
What about feminism caused that? All of the things you just said.
I will say, like, the three waves of feminism people talk about, like, if we were talking about the old waves of feminism, I would identify as a feminist. But this third wave of feminism was really what, like, kind of destroyed everything. I was saying to him, like, I feel like before this third wave of feminism really hit, like, we would still see dads in the homes. It's like now mind you, nothing's wrong with, you know, a single mom. I believe, you know, women can do that on their own. Yeah, but I believe this, like, new wave for some reason has pushed men out of the home because, like, it's this I don't need a man type mentality. And it's like, you don't. Like, if you find a good man that'll stay in the home, your life will be 1,000 times better. Masculine, like, you could find a masculine woman too. Like, it doesn't have to be a man, but, like, that energy does balance out. And I feel like this third wave has really, I don't know, just kind of pushed men out of the equation in that regard.
Yeah, like they're trying to be men.
Yeah.
You know, we have roles, and it's like nature. That's how we're wired. I mean, I know so many, like, I'm 30 now. I know so many women like my age that never got married. They're like, they don't have kids. They're ultra feminist. Now they're lonely. They're some sort of mom. You know, they're cat mom, plant mom. You know, they're gonna be a mom. They want to be a mom. Kind of like men. We want to do things. We want to build and conquer. And like women, they nurture and grow and you know, like we have our complements with each other, and that's why we need each other. And like the new wave feminism is like, you don't need a man.
Okay, well, I think now that's a really great time to bring in everyone who disagreed with the statement. Come on up now. So, a lot of things said over here. Who was sitting back there, like, ready to get up here and wanted to say something? Here we are.
Something I think that you all had mentioned was like, women don't want this anymore, or they think it's weird, or they shy away from it. I don't think that's true. I like that. I would welcome it, but I don't need that. And I think that's something where a lot of guys are mistaken, because they want to do those kinds of things, pump my gas, hold the door open for me, because they think I need it, or I can't do it myself, or that I would appreciate that.
I wouldn't say we believe we need that.
Yeah, that's a
Sorry,
tough.
sorry. I just had a. I don't think we believe you need it per se.
We do it more out of love and our appreciation for you. Like we do things to show our love.
Sure, but then don't sweep in acting like you're my hero for doing that. You know, like, at least in my experience, I've had that. And again, like, I will admit, I like being a passenger princess. I like when a guy drives me around, you know, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's something that I don't need. I welcome it, sure. I like it, but it's not something I'm expecting. It's not something that I'm needing.
Well, I can see with you, what you're saying is like, you actually don't have a problem with chivalry or like guys wanting to do things. It's more of like the, hey, I just did that for you, and expecting like to be appreciated for something that they want. It's like if you give somebody a gift, they say it's not really genuine if you like wanted something out of giving them something, right?
Yeah, I think it just depends on the context, on the scenario, how well you know the person.
Fair. Fair.
Because, I mean, everyone's going to be different. Everyone's going to approach things differently. For me, I really only like it if like, I'm into somebody, right? Because then if guys, and this is so bad of me to say, but then if the guy expects something of me in return, then I'm more inclined to give that. And does that make sense? More receptive to it when it's a guy I know, guy I'm hanging out with, guy maybe I'm interested in dating. I think a lot of the older generation is like kind of really guilty of like saying like, oh, you're a woman, you can't open this door, let me run ahead in front of you and open it for you. And I think that's where the line gets blurred a little bit, because I know you are trying to be kind, but it's also coming across that you think I'm weak and you think I can't do that myself. And it is a difference in generation, sure, but...
Well, I think that's maybe just like how you perceive yourself. Because, I mean, I don't know anybody who just like, oh, this woman can't open a door, so I'm going to open the door for him. Like, that seems ludicrous. That maybe seems something more like maybe your own personal experience. How you're viewing it is more like of a victim. Like, oh, okay, he's doing this. Oh, he must want something from me. Oh, he's just trying to be super masculine. And then you find a negative, and then that's your reality. You know, like a lot of times guys just, hey, we just want to be good guys sometimes, you know, like whatever example, but I think it's really how you perceive it. And, you know, guys aren't trying to show off and, oh, you can't take your jacket off for you. You know, it's like stuff like that. It's not
Because that's
reality.
No, go ahead.
Because that's what being a woman is like. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah, go ahead, explain.
Can you imagine if every time you went to the gas station and you saw a guy and you were walking in at the same time, you're like, oh my God, I really don't want to talk to anybody right now. I don't want to be perceived. I don't want to be seen. And this guy's going to open the door for me to be chivalrous. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
I open the door for everybody.
That's fine. I really don't care. Like, you opening the door for me, for one, is never going to get sucked. I'm not going to be surprised or like overwhelmed by joy because you're opening the door for me or because you're pumping my gas. Like, and there was a comment made specifically that women are so hyper independent that they don't need a man and it makes you not want to do it. Why don't you challenge yourself and learn how to be chivalrous in a different way? Like, oh my God, I'm exhausted. I just woke up early. I went to work. I had to feed my cat because I am a cat mom. I had to go to the grocery store. I had to exercise to take care of my health. Maybe I had to go to the doctor's appointment. And then I get home, I have to cook, I have to clean, I have to make dinner for me, clean the house for me. That's a really chivalrous act.
I agree.
Acts of service is a great chivalrous act. But just because chivalry, as we knew it back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, when women didn't have rights to begin with, like the role of a woman was to shut up, look pretty, and stand by his side, yeah, then maybe opening the door is an exciting thing. But today, I open my door every day on my own before I go out into the world. I don't need you to do that for me because I got it. And it's not a bad thing on you. It doesn't, like you were talking about negative perception. It doesn't automatically mean if a woman says something like, oh, I'm letting you pump my gas. It doesn't automatically mean she doesn't appreciate you. Yeah. It means it took 100 years for women to get to this point, and you damn sure better respect that. You better respect autonomy and independence because it's such a small thing to like appreciate. Imagine only being restricted to the home or only being restricted to being a mom or only being restricted to your interpersonal world because the external world won't allow you to work or won't allow you to vote or whatever. The chivalry that was around that all of you referred to as chivalrous existed during those times, and it's outdated.
Okay, I do want to at least hear.
I do just want to clarify maybe what my perception of feminism is. Earlier, it felt like that there was an illusion that it's man-hating, and that's not at all. It's just about equity. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's just exactly equity and spaces that both men and women are in. And chivalry, to me, is not a male or a female type of thing. And this isn't my thing, it's a Brene Brown thing, but with my partner, we'll have been married 27 years. And there's days where I need to be the chivalrous person, and there's days that he has to be the chivalrous person, and it's welcomed. And I think it speaks to maybe what you were talking about. Adult relationships are reciprocal. So if I can hold the door for him because his hands are full, I'm gonna do it. If he can hold the door for me. But on the flip side, I was painting our bathroom and he's like, oh, let me do this, this, and this for you to prepare it. And I go, I've got it. And sometimes he'll say to me, I need to feel needed. And then I'm like, okay, then do it if that's what you need right now, if that's what's gonna fill your bucket. And then there's other times where I'm like, I actually need to do this because I need to feel worthy of the process front to back, that I can do it.
So my question for you guys, I heard a lot about, you guys think that we can't do it. What are your guys' response to that?
Yeah, I've been kind of trying to hold back on saying this, but like everybody's been talking about needs. We know you guys don't need that. Like we don't need you to tell us that you don't need it. We are just doing it because we want to. So when somebody tells us, like for an example, if I hold the door open for somebody and somebody's just like, I don't need a man to hold my door open for me. It's like, okay, like then I won't. Cool. Like, but then it kind of is like a snowball effect where I stop holding the door open for other people. It's like I just don't need you to say that you don't need it.
That's a
like if you
personal
appreciate
choice,
it,
though.
Sure, but it's like if you don't need it, we know that. we just want to do it anyways.
You're
If
saying
don't,
you already know they don't need it.
yeah, it's like more of a, I know that it's not needed,
Then
but I'm
why
doing
does
it out
the
of respect.
saying of not it being not needed bother you if you know that and you're just doing it to
Because
be
you
a
can't
kind
accept the genuine action from us. Because we're coming across with genuine action, trying to express our love, and someone says, I don't need that, then it's a rejection of love.
I have a question really quick. Are you actually hearing people, women, men, say, I don't need you to hold the door for
Every
me?
day online. Not that specifically. Not that specifically. I spoke too soon. So, but I do see so many people online, specifically women, talking about how they don't need this from men, they don't need that from men, they don't need. It like varies about like whatever they're talking about, but it's constant. It's constant, like just punches in the face as a guy online
Stop
all the
reading
time.
those comments.
It's just, I mean, my algorithms suck for sure, but
But, well, can I respond to that?
yeah.
I think when you take that perspective, you also have to consider it from the bigger picture with the history of how women have been treated for literally forever, right? Still in some places today where women weren't allowed to do that. They couldn't go to work. They couldn't leave the house. Their only sole purpose was to stay home and take care of the kids. They didn't make any money. They couldn't open credit cards by themselves. They couldn't own their own home. They couldn't do all these things because it was the men, the patriarchy, the, male standards that kept them in. So now that that's kind of, disappearing, going away a little bit, or the feminism movement is trying to move away from that, now women feel empowered because, well, we were never allowed to do this before. So now that I can, and yet another man is trying to take it away from me. Does that make sense? Like,
A woman can say that they don't need something without it dispelling the kindness to begin with. Because I wanted to address your comment about what you said about the love being rejected. And I wanted to bring attention to that because I think that's important. But I also want to testify to what you said about communication. When you guys originally all sat down to talk about this, masculine and feminine reasonings for why you were taking this stance. But it's a fluid pendulum, like you had mentioned earlier. So if a woman is saying that she doesn't need something, it shouldn't bother you. I am recognizing that, like, the love rejection is something that comes into consideration if you may hear that, but you don't have to interpret it that way, is I guess what I'm saying. Because that's not...
I do think the tonality of it being said too matters. The context, the tonality, there's a lot of different factors about that matters. So like somebody could be like, oh, I didn't need you to do that, but thank you. Like that's totally different than I didn't need that.
and I think maybe I came across wrong with that is I will always say thank you. I always will. I'll never be like, oh, like, stop doing that. Or like, I didn't need you to do that. I'll always say thank you. Mm-hmm. It's always appreciated, but just, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm expecting it or I need it.
Yeah, and I should clarify, not all women do that. Not all women are like that. Everybody's different. So in the grand scheme of things, when I say women specifically, I'm talking about the women that do that.
Men's mental health is ignored by society. I'll start by having everyone that agrees come up now. All right, it seems like we found something that everyone agrees on. So, who agrees with it the most? All right.
I feel like I mainly came here to talk about this. So I mean, it's pretty clear. I mean, we all agree that men's mental health is kind of ignored. I think school shootings, for an example, is prominently male because those people don't have the resources necessary to, they do, but also society doesn't push it on men as much. My experience with like taking care of my mental health, I went through a pretty bad breakup, devastated me. She was trying to get me to go to therapy and kind of take care of myself. And I was just like, I don't need that. I don't want to pay somebody to listen to me. I can talk to somebody if I wanted to. Like, once things ended with her, just kind of was like, you know what? I'll sign up for therapy if that's what I need to do. And it was serendipitous. My therapist was an actor. He spent some time in LA, so he related to me when it came to like filmmaking and stuff. Like it was so serendipitous and it helped so much. We could talk about like the suicide rate when it comes to men versus women. I mean, that's a huge thing too, but you drive down the street and you see women's clinics everywhere. Like where's a men's clinic? You know, like going back to the school shooting part, always hear about the gun, you never hear about the mental health. So those are kind of my points.
First of all, I commend you for doing therapy, as I commend anybody who does therapy. Proud therapy person myself, been in it for years and will continue forth as long as she'll take me. There are men's clinics, just an FYI. So mostly tied to erectile dysfunction, but there are.
I don't have that.
2 for 1.
Yes, statistically, 61% of our school shooters are male, and I think that the fact that we're not digging into that further as a society is really problematic. We're not taking care of our kids, all kids, but our boys. It ties back to, I think, the toxic masculinity, allowing them to be emotional or angry. But how do you, when a kid is angry, how, or a young boy is angry, how do they express that? Maybe they need to be taught, and we aren't necessarily teaching them. All of you here appear to be younger than myself, so you're in a generation that I hope that you can help thwart that.
I feel so strongly about what both of you guys have said. I'm also a proud therapy goer. I have a personal tie to this question because I grew up in a household with a father who was not very present, who didn't know how to express his emotions, and I kind of grew up resenting him for that. A lot. And I went to visit my grandmother the other day, or a couple months ago, sorry. I can't believe I'm crying on camera, sorry.
Take your time, take your time.
And I looked at this picture of my dad when he was a little boy. And I talked to my gran about what he was like when he was a little boy. And that was a different guy that I knew and that I grew up with. How wonderful and transformative therapy has been for me. And I think about how if anybody had told him that it was going to be okay, or told my grandfather, who was a veteran and who fought in Vietnam and who had severe PTSD, that his terrors were real and not in his head, that he wasn't crazy, I imagine my family would not be as fractured as it is today. I think about my little brother. I think about how I'm not there on campus to talk to him about how he's feeling. His room isn't across from mine anymore. I can't go check on him like I want to. So if you are watching this, and instead of seeing my tears, I ask that if you have a man in your life that you care about and that you love, you give them a hug and you tell them that their mental health matters, so that one day their daughter doesn't end up on a show crying in front of strangers. But I'm proud of you for going to therapy too, because that's a really big deal.
I want to say thank you for sharing that. I think it was very powerful, and it made a lot of sense. And I think you probably moved a lot of people with that. So thanks for sharing that.
And I can relate. I have kind of the same story too. So I was like getting choked over here too. So you're not alone in that either. So
I guess when you hear a prompt, you don't really think about, I mean, that's what it really looks like, right? And there's real people that suffer as a consequence of it. What do you guys?
So I go to therapy. I've been doing therapy for 2 years. I go to AA, I go to church, I do men's groups. I mean, there's such an epidemic with addiction. Pornography is a massive addiction that no one's talking about right now, that causes so much stress and pressure on guys that they're just burying things deep inside of them. Alcohol, I was big into cocaine for a long time, but we don't talk about it because it's so fearful to talk about because no one knows how to handle it. So we don't know who to talk to a lot of times. And then therapy is not super recognized. I talk about it as much as I possibly can. I absolutely love it. I encouraged previous relationships I was with to go to like couples counseling because I wanted to work on that stuff. And didn't work out, but I continue to go to therapy because I know that's what I need. And I think everyone in the world needs therapy, and we're all broken, and it's a beautiful thing. It's not a bad thing. It's something we just have to embrace so we can actually figure it out. But I was at work earlier today, and there's a bunch of dudes. We work in a warehouse. One dude was, I don't know, complaining about something. It's like, oh, stop being a whiny baby, you know? It's like, that's where like you said the masculinity comes in, and it's like you're putting shame on someone for just expressing themselves, and so then they hold back, and then they don't want to be vulnerable. It's a crazy expectation that it's like people are afraid to communicate their feelings and express themselves naturally, so then they don't seek out help. I do think that's shifting. I think there's some progress in this area.
To kind of tie it to like feminism a little bit, I feel like there is a little bit of fault with that because society today is very much, of course, like we said, women are independent. But also what's being pushed is pornography and how okay it is to do OnlyFans or to be promiscuous like that. Not only is that kind of just like a degenerate behavior in itself, and that's like moral question, but the effect of society of everybody thinking it's okay to have OnlyFans, it's okay to watch porn, like that, like when men go through the whole act of doing that, it's very depleting to them because they're kind of wasting all their energy when they do that. And this keeps men down at this level where they're very primal, just not thinking correctly, and then that digs them a further hole into more mental disorders that maybe they don't want to talk about because it's uncomfortable, or maybe they're afraid what their friends are going to think, or maybe they don't have that support network. Do OnlyFans, empower yourself. It's also affecting the men in a way to where it's like they're thinking it's okay to do that, and then it just this whole trail, and I've been through it before. It's like of this self-destruction, and then that's why like suicide rate's so high for men, and it's a little tough.
Are you saying that feminism is like super supportive of pornography and girls doing OnlyFans, and if so, like, can you explain a little more?
Yeah, it's very, it's the women's empowerment movement, and it's everything's fine with that until it gets to the point where it's it's overly that. Yeah, you can go do what you want, be a boss babe, and like sell your body or whatever like that. You don't need a man. You go make your own money. Is perpetuating that ideology of it's okay to do these degenerate things, but in reality they're really just hurting society as a whole and creating these toxic men and creating all these issues. It stems from that.
It's weird though. I mean, going off the topic of OnlyFans, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of like the successful OnlyFans models have a man running their account in the background, kind of bringing in money and kind of pushing them to do all of that. Feminism is kind of empowering women to, sell their bodies in that sense. There still is kind of a man behind that.
Of course.
And it is a problem.
It's like a man pushing it, or are you saying?
Well, I'm saying that like you can't put the women at fault for doing that when they're kind of tied to like a pimp in the background that nobody talks about.
On the OnlyFans thing?
Yeah.
Okay, what do you guys think about the OnlyFans thing just in general?
I was going to talk to you about normalizing language around therapy. I was a teacher, and kids would come in and out of class that were going to therapy. And I would always be like, oh, you're going to therapy? So do I. Just normalizing the language is really important. And then comments about the OnlyFans. First of all, women, if they want to use nudity and use their body to sell, like, I don't see it as degenerate. Yeah. It's just a values difference between yourself and myself. So I fully support if that's what a woman wants to do. If you're choosing as a man to watch it and you feel something in regards to watching it, feel lesser than or depleted or whatever word you were using, that's to me on you versus, that feels like a choice. I'm not, because I don't know who's strong-arming you into looking at OnlyFans.
Yeah, I think that's just kind of like a bad argument to make against that. It's an addiction, and a lot of men are tied to it, and it's very hard for them to stop. Right. And so if we're on X scrolling and we see 1 million girls in OnlyFans, they're more tempted to do that stuff again.
That's algorithms too, though.
You what?
I said that's algorithms too, though.
Yeah, not on my algorithm, but.
But is it the woman's fault for that?
If they're the ones that are doing it, pushing it out, yeah, they're to contribute to it. But it's also as a society as a whole, like they want to make money off of you, and so they're pushing this whole feminism so you can pay more taxes and work a 9-to-5 job, work for somebody else, and break up the home. Like it's this whole organization of, they don't want what we had before, which was stability and strength.
I think more than likely, and I don't know, because I haven't done my own poll, but I would guess most OnlyFans models probably didn't have strong male role models in the house. So it really comes back to men's fault.
What do you guys think of that?
Well, we can't not hold them
I
accountable.
hate that.
Stuff. What do you guys think about that, the male role model missing thing?
So I had mentioned earlier about how I kind of relate to your story with a father who struggles very, very badly with mental health. He went to Iraq when I was little, so then when he came back, it completely messed him up, and I'm sympathetic to that now. But I would say that I didn't grow up with a strong male figure in my life, father figure. And while it has caused me some issues today, I don't feel a need or want or desire to go do OnlyFans. I don't think that's a fair statement to make. Well, I have a very, very good mom too. So
Sure.
I mean, that's where I think I get a lot of my very strong opinions from, is because I was raised by a very strong woman. Kind of had to make up, I think, for the lack of my dad being there. I mean, maybe it would be different if you know, I also didn't have my mom around. So I think there's a variety of factors that come into it. But there's also, in feminist theory, there's this thing called unpacking choice, which is on the outside, it looks like women have a choice. They choose to do these things. But then when you turn inside, they don't really. You know, for example, men or husbands want the women to stay inside, take care of kids, take care of the family, take care of the house, cook dinner, all that stuff. And they're happy to do that, sure, but then they're not making money. They're not making a living on their own. So then they find a career or a thing that they can do from inside the home. So was it really their choice to do that? And sure, there's other, you know, routes you could go for sure. But I also think that goes back to what you were saying with a lot of the time men are behind the cameras, you know, like, so I don't think that's necessarily a fair statement, but I also think it's like, if men want to see it and I have the means and it's gonna, you know, it's women empowerment for sure. But I don't think that would be fair to say that it's because I have daddy issues that like I'm gonna go open an OnlyFans.
Since we're talking about mental health, I do think OF certainly probably has a prominent effect on anyone's mental health who does do it, because men do OF too. Like, there are pretty sizable followings of men who can profit off of that as well. And I think that all of us as a society need to recognize that there is going to be mental turmoil that comes from accepting objectification in order to make money. No one wants, maybe they do want to do it, you know, but there is a toll that might have on any person, not just women. And I really liked what you said, and I've studied that theory myself in school. And I would like to challenge you to think about that next time when you're thinking about women who are occupying those fields. Because at the end of the day, it's just work. I could get in a whole thing about capitalism, so I better just stop it there.
Right. Andrew Tate is a net positive for society. We'll start by having the people that agree come up now. Two top G's up here, or maybe not, but I am interested in knowing why you guys think he's a net positive for society.
Yeah, it's a very complex topic. Everybody knows Tate. Is that you have to realize where he kind of comes from. Where when he got started, it was very much the whole everybody's a liberal, everybody's like this, like that. And when you have the whole society swinging in one pendulum, there's going to be people that start to swing back, that start to push back. But I think that what he's doing is he pushes the pendulum of society more back towards like the middle, or even more towards men. It's because like men have felt for a long time that, you know, that women are trying to be overpowering. They're trying to do all this stuff. And then men are like, what's going on? And then when they hear somebody kind of like speaking their thoughts, you know, and they relate with them, they help men become more masculine and more secure in themselves, because they're not just having these thoughts of like, oh, okay, maybe I should bow down to my wife. And they're like, no, that's not right. And then Tate's like, no, you absolutely should not do that. And I think what it does, it helps bring that balance to the society that we needed so badly. And that started too, as you could see, when people voted for Donald Trump in 2018 or 2016. I believe it is a net positive because he's the counterculture that we needed. And now you can see today a lot of people are like that, and I attribute that to Tate's success.
Okay, so I think there's a lot of weak men in society, and I'm guilty of being one myself. Andrew Tate's older stuff is super extreme and way out in left field, in my opinion. His newer stuff is not as popular because it's not as extreme. He talks about God now. He talks about being respectful. He talks about being a man and being the role that a man should play. And I think we need just the whole men's mental health that we talked about earlier. We need more male positive role models in order to get us in that direction. Now, is everything absolutely awesome he puts out? Definitely not. I think net positive though, 100%.
Okay, and before we bring up the people that disagree, real quickly, I think it'd be interesting for the viewer to see, like, if you could think off the top of your head, what are some of the most important, useful things that you've learned from Andrew Tate? Has it been a net positive on you?
I haven't been like a huge Tate follower, but I do like his content. I do like the stuff he says. I'm more of maybe like a Nick Fuentes guy, but what he said, men actually like standing up for themselves and not letting like women or society trample over them. And in the fact, like you alluded to too, like there is a lot of weak men, and I would have considered myself like that. And seeing that male role model, like I didn't have one growing up, seeing a guy that's ultra masculine helped me become more like that in myself.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he's really pushing do things that are hard because it'll benefit you and it'll benefit all of society. Like, don't back down from things. Like show up and be a man and be strong for yourself and for your family. I think that's beautiful.
Okay, and I think now that is the time to bring in everyone that disagrees.
If you are looking for a male role model, I don't think you can find it in someone who rapes women, who has been known to rape women and take advantage of women and traffic women, say horrible things about them. And the president-elect, which you mentioned as well, including into your not positive, has also raped women. He's a felon on multiple accounts. So if you are speaking to this macho-ness that you needed, why is my question? Are you looking for that? How are you excusing this behavior?
Well, it's not like we're looking at the guy and go, hey, he has women who accused him of rape. And it's not like we're supporting that in any facet. I'm saying the thing about it is that he has traits in himself that are masculine, and that young men that need a role model can see that in him. And I doubt that every guy that follows him agrees with him 100%. Like, I don't believe in polygamy, but he has multiple wives and things like that.
Andrew Tate has multiple wives?
Well, he has a lot of kids, he has a lot of girlfriends.
I mean, he has a lot of baby daddies, but not wives.
I don't know if they're wives, but whatever.
I totally get your point, but so the question was, is it a net positive? And you can choose to focus on whatever side of people you want to focus on. But I also believe in redemption, and I think people can change. And so seeing someone so broken and so messed up as him, and if he starts to change and shift off who he is and is able to use that and his influence for good, I'm all for it.
If we want to talk about men's mental health here, he came from a place of brokenness, and he built himself up, from the ground, and now he's this powerful guy, and he's, really influential. Does the fact that he came from a dark place excuse the crimes that he has committed on women?
Question. Are we saying that it's factual that he did these things?
Allegedly.
Saying it's
we
not?
can say allegedly.
No, I'm just genuinely.
I mean, I don't know the guy personally, so I can't really defend him. I wasn't there for any of these accused actions.
I mean, he wasn't
so
charged.
That's not.
question.
That's like an assumption.
Or he wasn't arrested. Didn't go through. Like it got dropped.
I don't think you can support an alleged rapist and still say you think rape is a bad thing.
But the alleged part is what matters.
Yeah.
You can assume, you can.
So
Well, it's a big
often that is a word that's used, and as somebody who is close with sexual assault victims that have never come forward, that alleged part, I mean, he's tied to rape accusations or not. He's convicted or not, I just don't see how that can be linked to positive role model. Even in acts of redemption, I mean,
Accountability.
in a way that also speaks to potential shame and tied to guilt, I don't know. But I just know that there is a time he also would encourage young men like to be a powerhouse over women in their sexual prowess. I just don't. I'll give you guys other strong men to follow that feel like they would not be tied to sexual assault.
It's a very gray area. Unfortunately, it's disgusting that women can and have claimed rape when there wasn't one.
Statistically, where are they at? Tell me a statistic, how often that happens.
There's no way to know.
Well, you give me the statistic. What is it?
Less than 3%.
How do you know that?
How do you prove that?
I guess.
Well, statistics are just statistics. I mean, it doesn't.
People lie all the
necessarily-
time. There's no way to prove that.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
you can't just base your whole theology off of just statistics because they're very skewed or biased.
I think you can, though. So I've been raped twice. And the first time it happened in college. And I told my roommate about it. And all she said was, welcome to the 97%, because it's 97% of women. And so that's just something, for you to maybe sit with is, I'm not saying women don't falsely accuse, because I'm sure they do, okay? But that's such a non-issue in this sphere, because almost every woman I know has a story like this. Multiple times, multiple different people. Over the course of how many years, like I said, me twice. I don't think it's fair to talk about false accusations or allegations when you have someone who has been raped and is telling the truth about it sitting in front of you.
I have also been sexually assaulted multiple times. This art is not just for show. By same thing, multiple different people. And the people who assaulted me are still walking out on the streets. Does that make my story any less valuable just because nobody was convicted? Does that make the pain that I went through of my body being not my own any less than? Because my words right now saying I was sexually assaulted could be just viewed as an allegation at this point, since nobody was convicted.
What you guys have been through, I can't even imagine. So I'm very sorry for your experiences. I've been drugged and sexually abused by gay men. When I was out drinking a lot, I had blackouts, and then there was other times where there's no way I drank enough to black out. And I woke up in situations that I'm not comfortable with. And same thing, like I didn't really talk about it because I felt so ashamed.
So then how can you, as someone who has been in that situation, bring up the fact of people making false accusations and then go on and support someone who has these accusations against him?
I don't know the guy personally. I can't.
And I also want to
speak
say
for
thanks
him.
to everybody that shared such sensitive information. That is to be dealt with seriously, everything everyone said. I just want to put that out there.
But he's been on videos encouraging men to use what I would consider rape-like
Behavior.
behavior
Yeah,
in their
I've seen that content.
sex. Yeah, and I just
And
to
I'm very
amplify
sorry.
that in these times feels like a lot. Yeah, I mean,
To make this a point, though, and mind you, again, it's horrible what you guys have been through. There are some women out there that really like it aggressive, though, in that sense, and they welcome it. So I think there's communication errors there in that regard, because I think that there are women that are more into the aggressive type stuff where
well,
I think that's what he's
consensual
talking
sex,
about. But it's-
aggressive.
I agree
mean,
it's
I'm
different,
full
but I
proponent.
think some men,
yeah.
like it's the communication error there that it's like.
In society, more is expected of a man than a woman. I'll start by bringing up everyone that agrees with the statement now. All right, I think a fair place to start would just be saying, like, in society, what do you think is expected of a man?
Men need to be the provider, but nowadays we also need to be perfect in a way, I would say. Like there's a lot of these, oh, he has a red flag, cut him off, Instead of like working with them as a human and letting everybody know we have our own flaws, I feel like we don't get like that grace. Inflation and all this other stuff. It's tough on a guy trying to provide. Our scene in society is that if we're not going out and we're not a winner, then we're a complete loser, that we don't deserve much. And we also see that reflected in how women treat us. There's that thing, women need a guy who's 6 foot, 6 figures, 6 inches. And so it's like, there's a standard on a guy that women are like, yeah, I deserve that type of guy. you know, and like the hoflation isn't crazy. It's just they think that they all deserve this perfect, awesome man, and in reality, it's like you need someone who's, you know, of your equal.
I think guys are more willing to put up with things they don't like in women than women are of men. And I think that's also due to the fact that there's a lot of shitty guys in the world that have kind of skewed the way women see men.
Do you think they should put up with less?
No, I think that they should hold men to a specific standard, but I think that when one little thing happens, they're just thrown out the window. It's like, well, a guy can have one little thing happen with a woman and probably look past it. So like for me, one example was most recent. Everything was great with this girl. Said one little thing that wasn't even like super like problematic, and I clarified what I meant. The clarification didn't matter, but then everything was gone. I was like, okay. So like 99% loading, and then that 1% failed. Got it. Cool.
Yeah, and I think it also too, like with like the dating app culture, you know, women, they can go on a dating app and get literally 100 guys right away, and so they're like, oh, I have all these options. I'm just going to choose like the most perfect one who I think I can get. For a lot of guys too, they don't have really many matches at all, and so when they do get somebody, they're like, okay, let me try her out. But then she treats him like just an option.
First of all, stay off the apps. It's not a good way to meet somebody. Second of all, I would say more is expected of men. Publicly, it's less talked about what's expected from women. Men are very like put on a pedestal a lot of times, and they're, like you said earlier, like they're supposed to be perfect. They're supposed to have it all together. They're supposed to have financial stability, emotional stability. They're supposed to lead well. They're also supposed to be empathetic. They're supposed to be all these things. And yeah, then we're crucified and canceled if we're not held up to this insane standard. I think there's a little bit more forgiveness with women because there's just more love and compassion and empathy showed towards women.
Okay. I think that's a great time to bring in the women we have here. What do you guys as women actually expect out of a man?
At this point, I don't really have any expectations for men because I don't think it's fair to put y'all on like in a box of what I need this man to be, right? Especially going back to earlier, I can provide for myself. I don't need financial stability from a man. It's probably nice, but don't need it. But I was listening to you guys talk, and you were just saying, you know, she needs strength, financial stability, you know, working, strong. Who set that system up?
Men.
So why are you complaining?
I think it's a time thing. I think the generations before us have set like us living in this time period up to fail, if I'm gonna be honest.
I think women feel the same way.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the things that you guys were mentioning about needing to be super attractive, needing to be fit, needing to have enough money in the bank. I feel all of those same things. I don't think the issue is men being on a pedestal or women being on a pedestal or men going through more, women going through more. I think society as a whole is hurting. And if all of us as human beings, not as men and women, but as human beings, emphasis on the if we acknowledge that and acknowledge that everyone is hurting and that everyone probably feels the way that you guys are saying right now, because I know sure as hell that I did, I related to that the world would be probably a better place. We could meet in the middle somewhere because we're not against each other.
Are you saying you feel that way too?
Yeah.
As a woman, you feel like I need to be this and that, and I feel like I'll be judged if off this and that.
Yeah, especially as a multiracial woman, which has its own whole delve of things. I can say that what you guys are feeling is a very real feeling, and I can also say that I feel it too.
I may also feel this way. For example, I can't cook, and I don't like cooking. I don't want to learn how to, okay? But I know that's something that a lot of men look for, right? They want a woman who can have dinner ready for them when they come home from work, a woman who can, you know, take care of them. And I can do things in my own way, right? But I don't want to. So I think that's somewhere I can relate on that end because, I don't know, it's expected of a woman to cook, and that's not me, and I don't think it ever will be me.
Guys, what we're debunking right now is gender norms. I just want everyone to be aware of that right now. Like,
what do you think?
Well, I think you said it best. I feel like the apps might be a problem, and that mostly from you specifically, like it feels like you've had some hard situations or maybe expectations, like where you've been really hard on yourself because the women maybe in the apps or out in the world, I'm not sure, have looked one way and it's made you feel like maybe not as good or not. I'm not sure what, I don't want to put words in your mouth of how you feel. To what you said, maybe find alternative places or ways to meet women.
Very easy.
And I don't know
Where's
what
it socially acceptable to meet women?
Everywhere.
But where specifically?
right. Well, and it depends.
Well,
depends
that's the thing.
upon
It's like
what's of interest. So, like, I'm a theater freak. I'm married, so it's not going to matter. But I love theater. I love theater. I volunteer at the Omaha Community Playhouse. If I were single, that would be something. There's now all these like silent reading clubs. Like if literature is your thing, maybe that's a way versus like the traditional, or I met her at a bar, met him at a bar, or whatever. Yeah, I do think there's expectation on men. Just the ones that, everything that you said, like those are legitimate. I think you guys have already kind of said that. But as women, the expectations they're felt. And especially as an older woman, like you're not supposed to look old, or you're not supposed to have gray hair, you're not supposed to have wrinkles, you're not supposed to weigh a certain thing. Yeah, I mean, all of it.
I think that comes from women judging women.
Yeah, let me ask you guys
Yeah,
this. I think
big
this is a
time.
nice way to roll this is I asked them what they think is expected of men, right? And then I asked you what you actually expect of men. I want to ask you what you think is expected of women, and then I want to ask you guys what you actually expect of women.
I mean, going back to what I said, I think someone who is very domestic, cooks, cleans, nurturing, is, able to take care of potential children, be emotionally available. And this isn't just with men, but whenever my friends come to me with like an issue or a problem, I carry that weight myself. And I think, even tying this back to men's mental health, if I see, one of my guy friends struggling, or even my dad struggling, he doesn't want to talk about it, I carry that with me. And so I think a lot of men want a empathetic and emotionally in tune, but not overly emotionally in tune, because then it gets like weird. Someone who, can offer support, which everybody wants that, I guess maybe it's not just a man thing. Stays quiet, very, very submissive. I think a lot of men like submissive women. I don't want to say follow commands because I think that's weird and it's gross and it's icky.
But if that's what you think.
Yeah.
All right.
Kind of just sits in the back, shuts up, does whatever they're told.
I want to use your guys' words from previous questions to answer this question. You described women as water, as a nurturer, but you also at the same time said that a woman couldn't be a good leader because she's too emotional. That cognitive dissonance right there, a compounding experience as a woman, because we can't make anybody happy. I'm either too emotional or I need to be emotionally nurturing. What if I don't want to be water? What if I'm feeling fiery one day? What if I want to pop off or elevate my voice? I'm a very loud person, obviously, as you guys have probably learned from this episode.
Good thing.
I also think it is a good thing, but I did not grow up thinking that. And I used to think I'd have to lower my voice in order to be able to find someone to love. So seconding on everything that you said, and then, I mean, based off of what you guys have even said in conversation, like when you watch this back, you do have expectations of women. And sometimes women we don't fit in that box, just like what you're saying.
I have some experiential wisdom on my side. So probably when I was younger and single, I probably felt a lot more of what you both feel. I'm lucky through that I have a wonderful partner that maybe what his expectations were, and through conversations and understanding that maybe that's not what I would be, but reverse it, same for him. He's the crier at movies and what have you. He's very in tune with his emotions. He was a social worker when I met him. So as far as making money, we didn't. I was a teacher, he was a social worker. So we were making it together. I'm glad that I've maybe outgrown some of what you guys are experiencing at the ages you are, and when you're out there trying to meet people. As an older woman, there are other expectations that, I mean, you're not ever expected to be older, but I feel like I don't know, they call it like, I don't call it menopause, I call it like midlife revolution. Like, I feel like I don't give a anymore.
Revolution?
Yeah.
That's
like,
fun.
I'm in my 50s and I don't care as much, which is maybe the beauty of getting older. Are you all three single?
Yeah. I am, yeah.
And you both are single, right? Okay, you're with a partner. Okay. Sometimes I think also perspective can be different if you're on the hunt or whatever it is you
Oh, for
want
sure.
to call it.
Like as a guy, you know, looking for traits in a woman. For me personally, I run a business. I'm doing things. I'm going out. I'm trying to do as much as I can. I'm trying to provide for my future family. I would like someone who kind of like brings me like peace. Like I can come home to, and there's comfort, there's love, there's, you know, whether it be a meal or not. But as long as there's someone there that I can come back to and just rest, you know, and like know that I have someone there for me who's loyal and that I'm not worried about them, you know, being promiscuous or potentially cheating on me or anything like that. That like stability and peace in a partner is really what I'm looking for. And I think that is a very base like component that a lot of guys look for just naturally.
So you call your husband your partner.
Yeah.
I've picked up on that. And every time I hear somebody talk about their partner as their partner, I kind of roll my eyes, but like that's what like my expectations are. Is it's a partnership. As much as I roll my eyes about it, that's what it is, and that's what I expect. Yeah, more so just a partnership in all regards, kind of yin and yang type thing.
Loyalty, honesty. It's obviously my job as a man to make it a safe space for her to be honest and loyal. The whole teammate thing, like I want someone that I can build with and grow with, and like we are both a part of, I'm not married or anything, but once you do pursue that, like you're part of a union that you are together. You're supposed to be one, but you make decisions together. It's not me over you. That's not right. No.
Amongst the many things you guys have disagreed on today, I felt a bit of humanity there as people were kind of showing and saying what they expected, what they thought was expected of them. And I think the main thing that's most important to remember for us up here and anyone watching at home is that we're all people. And with that being said, I think everybody should come together and hit subscribe. No, all right. Fade to black. Everyone was laughing. Fade to black. Yeah, dude.